Hi, Peatrovich Papp here. We're going to do our first interview, and I've asked one of my good friends, Ren, to ask me
Hi there.
questions. And
All
so
right.
there we go. And um, we'll probably pan around a little bit while we're doing this, and it should be very interesting. So, Ren, welcome,
Sounds good.
welcome to
Hi, everybody.
welcome to
Yeah.
AdventuresInSL.com. First interview,
Yes. Okay. Well, Pete and I met. Oh, I guess now it's been a month or a couple of months ago
at least two, yeah.
through a friend of ours. She's a poet and somebody I've known for years and years in Second Life, and that was Dearest. Um, and she said, I know this guy you'd probably really get along well with. You got a lot in common, and it turned out we do. Uh, So I'll start with the questions and we can go from there. Pete,
Oh,
why don't you tell everybody how you got into Second Life? What brought you here?
well, it was, I guess about 2007, and I'm a kind of an interesting mix of a breed, and I'm an engineer, but I do marketing as well, websites, things like that. And one of my friends said, had I ever heard of Second Life? And I said, no, what's that? Um, and I joked with him. I said, is that like life after death? What? And he said, oh, you're in the marketing. If you want to see where marketing is heading, go to Second Life. Okay. So I downloaded the software and went on there. And of course, being an engineer, well, they dropped me out on what they used to call Help Island. Now I think it's Introduction Island or I don't.
Oh, I remember that.
Yeah, yeah. And
Yeah.
so they teach you to interact with things, which is different, and you get this baby avatar, and that's what our bodies look like. And I'm looking around, and people are trying to sit on things. I said, "Oh man, this is stupid. I'm an engineer. I'll figure it out." You know. So I said, "Well, now where do I go? Is this like it? Is this Second Life?" And they had a search engine, not as good as we have today. And so I'm interested in martial arts, and I'm interested in marketing. So I put in marketing and martial arts, and this thing pops up the TP to the physics island. Okay, this is cool. So I get over to the physics island and I was amazed at each of the exhibits, taught some physics concept, even thermodynamics, not to get lost in the part. And I went to each one of them, and oh yeah, I remember learning that 35 years ago, but the software was very very good even to those days, and it was like whoa. Um, and then I said martial arts, so I typed that in, and there was a couple of places in a world called Gore. Okay, and now for those that don't know much about Second Life, there's all these role-playing worlds besides the what we call the real world in here, where builders like myself recreate cities authentically all throughout the world. So if you've never been to Venice, you can go to Venice and walk it and talk. Every avatar you meet is a real person. Well, they do have automated bartenders these days. But you can go to San Francisco, you can go to Moscow, England, Berlin, 1920s. You can go all
I've
over
been
the
there.
place. So, I mean, it's quite the adventure. But anyway, so in the Korean world, which is a male dominated, harsh, harsh world, and um, hard world to be in. And I watched this guy go by because you land on a boat. Most of the time, you land on a boat, it looks like a sailing schooner in some cases, or the Mayflower in other ones. And I watched this guy go by. And he looked really menacing, right? I
Yeah.
meant
That
really
was that's yeah.
menacing.
Guys who get into that really are.
Yeah, well, and I saw this silver chain dangling behind him and kind of bouncing along. And I look, and he's got a woman with a metal collar around her neck, dragging her somewhere. And I'm going, for God's sakes, that's not how you treat a woman. What the heck is he thinking, Because I had no idea, though. I just didn't
Yeah.
know. And so
Right.
before I could leave the boat, I either had to put on a combat meter or a visitor. And I said, well, I don't know anything about combat in Second Life, and So I'm going to put on a visitor meter, which means you can do just about anything you want. Nothing's going to happen to you. But if you put on a combat meter, then you have to role play. And in those days, if you got into a battle and you were killed, they took your inventory and your money and everything. You get to start all
Huh.
over. So anyway, I followed this guy and this girl, who's completely nude, uh, to an arena, and you could hear the announcer and who was going to fight who and this and that, and then there was all the people along the tops of the walls, and so it was a gladiator thing as far as I could figure out. So I get up there and I'm I didn't know how to cam down, so I just watched the best I could. Camming, by the way, is the ability to zoom in and out on something. And
Yeah.
man, these guys were moving so fast, my system wouldn't even track them. They hardly draw their weapons. Ho, ho, ting, 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 and somebody's dead. And I'm going, I didn't even see that happen, and I'm a martial artist. I take the Marine Corps, how to kill. So it was very clear it was technology related as well. So if you intend to be a Korean warrior, that fights, then you're going to need to um, get a good system and get a good connection. So anyway, I left there, and I don't remember where the heck I went. I went to Turia, that's what it was. So I live in the desert, so is there a desert Korean city? And actually, I thought Gore was in fact Second Life. That was it.
Oh, you generalized that was what the whole thing
Yeah,
was
how
about.
stupid. I
I
lived
gotcha.
in Gore for 3 months, never, ever, ever, ever seen anything outside of Gore. And
Oh,
and so when I went to Turia, you land there, and there's all these shops and stuff before you have to put on a Turian combat meter, and go off to find the city of Turia. And so I thought, I better read up on this stuff or something. So I found some books from John Norman. So the whole Korean Sim is based on 23 books from this guy John Norman, who wrote them. And since it's a harsh male-dominated city, and they all war on each other, so every book became that he wrote. The builders built that book, and then you could become um, a citizen of that group or whatever. At any rate, I ended up owning a slave by accident. And I don't know what to do with any of that, so I had to go find the Slave of Gore book and read it, and it was funnier than heck. And then I ended up in this little city called Peril Island. And they didn't have any members, so I became a citizen there, and I ran a brothel, of all things. And I don't do pixel sex. People that are
yeah.
listening, may not understand that, but a lot of people do, and so I don't do that. So here I had a brothel I had to fill it with women, which I did, and I'd invite all my friends, whoever male friends I had over to try them and see if they're okay to be in the brothel. I had a
Were they
lot.
bots or were they women who figured okay that was their role
Right,
play?
that's their role play. They wanted to be that,
Yeah.
and in that role play, it's very interesting. They don't pay you, they don't pay me. You just what you're doing is using a city facility,
Uh,
and decorating it. You get a little bit there anyway. So um, yeah, so what happened after that was I decided, and I would visit all these various cities, and from Turia to Koraba, Koroba to some of the more famous cities to see what goes on there. The great city of actually, excuse me, the great city of R. And anyway, um, so I started to gather more data on this is how you talk, this is how you act, this is that. Every city is somewhat has the same components. There's a tavern where you can go and women dance for you, and there's caste systems, and there's physicians, and anyway, it was fascinating to a large extent. And then I forget what city it was. I joined as a warrior, and
okay.
the master
Good
there,
start.
not the master, but the top war guy, warrior, took time out during the day to teach me to fight with this and that and this and that and this. And I sucked. Let me tell you, I sucked bad. And I was real good at dying. I could die a lot,
It's funny when there's something you're good at in real life
And you can't
and
do
you can't
anything.
do it
Yeah,
in Second
you
Life.
can't. Well,
It's kind of frustrating,
we're
isn't
both
it?
pilots that we'll get around to you trying to fly something in here and all the problems, and yeah. So anyway, um, the um, the head guy said, well, let's take we're going to have take a few slaves outside of Gore and party a bit, go dancing. I go, outside of Gore? Where would that be?
There is an
Yeah,
outside?
where would
Wow.
that be? And we ended up at a dance place, Jade's Jazz Club, which no longer exists.
No.
And we're dancing. And with the slaves, when you go out of Gore, they can go out of character. They
Uh-huh.
can.
OOC. Yeah.
Yeah, OOC, exactly. And so we're dancing, and I did not know that there was a public chat channel and a private chat channel. So
Oh, Lord.
anyway, she got us evicted quickly, and anyway, and I ended up going back to the Jay's Jazz Club manager and making friends with him and getting off the band list because I didn't realize that it was too new. But then I started to learn how to build. Um,
Uh-huh.
and the rest, they say, is history. But if you go to all the marketing places, and I like the in-world marketing places better than now they have of course, the Second Life marketplace. Um,
Yeah,
I,
and Dearest had some real good insights into that. I'll
well, share
tell you
those.
in a little
Oh,
while.
share
But
it, share it. We're at that point. Share it.
oh, okay. Well, because and hopefully the Lindens don't take this wrong, but one of the things that made it really hard for a lot of the venues, the dance venues and the clubs, there's still a lot of them, but they're better than they're used to. Oh, who had their own sims, which were dance venues and clubs where they would have live entertainment.
Mm-hmm.
But they said a lot of that was supported by, when they had a sim, they would have shops, in-world shops alongside it, which helped pay, they call it a tier.
Tier,
It's
right? They're
basically like a
dues.
property
Yeah,
tax.
property
Yeah,
taxes. Yeah,
it's a property tax for having a certain amount of property.
just like this
And
one.
so they,
Yeah.
yeah, so they would help pay for that, and that helped support the club. Well, I see it probably several years ago now, when Marketplace got bigger, you get not in world, you just go to a website and things you want to buy, whether they're clothes or a ship or airplane or you name it, furniture. Instead of buying at a store in world, you went to Marketplace and bought it online,
Mm-hmm.
and then it was shipped to your avatars.
That's what it does today. Yeah.
Yeah, and so it kind of became like just what Amazon did to mom and pop stores.
Yep.
Because it's so much easier to shop on Marketplace and get something and have it delivered to you instead of going into an in-world store.
Mm-hmm.
So many of the in-world stores, either they closed all but one location or they just dried up altogether, which that made it harder on the clubs and entertainment venues. So they've suffered a lot, and I think unintended consequences that maybe the Lindens didn't really foresee when they really expanded Marketplace to what it is now.
Yeah.
That's just an aside, but like you say, because there are all these stores, and I have to admit I'm guilty of going on Marketplace instead of into an in-world store, because I find if I get in-world, then I don't have time for shopping. Then I want to socialize and I want to see people and whatever else. So I don't get around to. I'm not a very well-dressed person. The only time I go shopping is kind of like used to be like in real life. I mean, somebody says, "Come on, you really need a makeover," and then they drag me shopping to
I
the store.
think that's a pilot trait because I'm the same way.
I suppose.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, so again, those are the only times I would go to an in-world store. But again, they really had a role to play, and they supported a lot of the other Sims.
And
So
I think they still do to a large extent. I mean,
somewhat, just much less than it used to be.
Yeah. That's dramatically
Right.
less than it used to be. But I think
I mean,
there's
there are
just some
still brick
things.
and mortar stores in the real world, but
Yeah.
we know what's happened to an awful lot of them.
Mm-hmm.
I think we've seen.
Well, just like what we're
So,
sitting on, like right now, there's a ball that says "Get comfy." for
Yeah.
people that don't know about SL, you can have dance balls, the dance clubs, right?
Right.
And you can do
Yeah.
male
Any
solo.
kind of action you can imagine.
Yeah,
Um,
let's not go there. But
no, I'm just saying it's everything. And there's also a click you can fly.
yep, yep,
And originally, in the older SL, you either walked or you flew, and then they came up with teleporting.
right.
So now you can TP. Somebody can invite you to TP somewhere, or you can pull up a basically like a landmark, and then you
Slurl.
TP, and that doesn't mean covering it with toilet paper. It means
You're right.
transport to some other location, essentially. But let me ask you about with this island, because he has given me a tour of this, a couple of tours of this, and it's really amazing. What got you started into actually building? Because there's a lot to this. It doesn't just magically appear. Most of Second Life is built by its members.
Right.
Um,
Yes.
so tell me how you got into that.
Well,
How you learned.
I ended up with a slave out of Turia, um, and I made a Korean young kid's friend, and he says, "Hey, let's go on a you know rent an eighth of a sim." And I said, "What the heck is an eighth of a sim?" You know, and he says, "Yeah, we can learn to build." And my slave at the time, um, uh, Tenderly was her name, said, "Well, master, they have to call you master." Same thing in martial arts too. If you are a master, so it wasn't so bad. But I can teach you guys to build. Oh, okay. Well, what have you built? Well, she used to make her way building silks for the silks for Korean women are real big. And there was a lot of tomfoolery to go make silk. Still is, by the way. So great. So we went and rented an eighth of a sim, and we lived on the beach until Tenderly, got going and taught me how to build a dock. And that sounds like that should be pretty simple, but it really isn't. And she taught me all the rules of building. First rule, kind of like the rules of thermodynamics, but the first rule was always build on the grid. Each sim has a grid, an X, Y, Z coordinate. So line up everything on the grid because it makes it easier to move around. And anyway, ended up we went and bought our first house. I can't remember this kid's name. He's a nice guy. And then we did the lagoon. We carved out a lagoon, so I learned to terraform. And he went and put in fish that go round and round and round like merry-go-round, and steady fish just sit there. And I thought, wow, this is pretty cool stuff. Anyway, that's kind of how it got started. And then he left, and I said, hey, I want a quarter of a sim. So we got a quarter of a sim. And then I started building that out, and then I wanted half a sim, and left that behind and went and built a new half a sim. And I got some. My building skills were going out crazy, and I ended up getting hired by people to build their sim based on mine, and because it is quite beautiful, if I say so
Yeah,
myself.
I can attest
There's
to
a
that.
lot of time and effort going in to make everything look as real as possible. You can always tell. Oh, most of the places that you go that have water, you go underwater, and it's just chunks of sand. They don't do anything with it. Here we have Atlantis. Here we have a mermaid cove. Here we have
Uh-huh.
20,000 Jules Verne, 20,000 leagues under the sea. We have a regular lagoon where we can watch the lightning above us. I should spin around and show a little bit about the lightning that goes on here on this island. And we also have looking over my shoulder now, and they'll see these little gray things coming in and out, and the sim is still working that's called resing. But you can see a lot. There are a lot of lightning strikes, and then we have comets coming in. Anyway, and the weather system. I learned to build a weather system, so I got a weather system. It's almost like you're God. You're making it all happen.
Yeah.
And
The facilities. Let me just
uh
interject. The facilities in Second Life are amazing. The tools you're given to work with. So, if you look out, maybe Pete's going to cam and turn around and show you all. But you can see the waves coming in at night with the light on them. You can see the surface, water glitter. You can put textures on items, so it can hold wood,
yep.
earth. It can be dirty. There's almost an unlimited number of things you can do. aside from just a basic 3D model.
Oh yeah.
Extra lighting effects,
And you,
wet. It's just enormous number of tools.
yeah, I've got thunderstorms going on the island at the moment, and right now I'm looking out your right shoulder to the moon coming up over the sea with all the sparkles, and that's another thing. You can set your sim to, morning, midday, sunset, or midnight, or you let it just go automatically, and pretty soon it starts to get light, and the sun comes up and goes over the top, and it's just amazing what you can really do with all of this. And
Yeah.
so, matter of fact, I should try to see if I can fix my draw distance. Give me a second here. Yeah, we were just talking about draw distances and graphics card interfaces, but I'm kind of panning over the island, and you can see, we've got these gorgeous places. This is a sim, I don't call it an island, but you can start to see how real gorgeous this is. And now,
Tell people what a sim is. I mean, it's short for simulator, but I think you can.
yeah, well, it comes at a certain size, and actually you pay real money for it. So we're living and talking right now in a server probably somewhere in San Francisco, and if the people look up, we got the moon coming down. They can see that, and comets flying in, or meteors actually, I guess, or meteors, not meteorites. Thank you. But so anyway, when you start to build, you only have, and I can pop that up. By golly, let's build something. Okay, now let me get around here. And I've got videos on how to build stuff. So, when people, well, how do you build a chair? I mean, you start out with something simple, And so I've got videos up there on Adventures in Second Life. But we start with a palette that basically has 15 different items, and that's all you get. And you've got to combine these. They're called prims or primitives. So, we'll put out a box, a cube out here. All right, and so we'll make a chair out of this thing. We're going to duplicate it, and so we're in real time starting to make a chair. This one we need to come over on the General tab, on the Object tab, and we want to. No, you know what we're going to do? I think we're going to leave it that way. No, we got to do that. So we'll minimize this. So here's, you can see what I'm building in front of you, right?
Already, yeah.
Yeah, so then we're going to go over here to build again, and we're going to use a cylinder. Okay, we'll zoom in there. This is called camming in, so we'll shrink the size of the cylinder to look like a leg of a chair. And we can texturize it, we can move it around. Now here's one of the biggest points in building is you get it where you want. Okay, just the way you want. And I gotta come down here. You see I overshot that big time. Let me change the world to the sun to midday. Oh yeah, there we are. That'll be a lot easier for everybody else to see too. So anyway, you get slowly get this into position where you want. We'll actually go past the position and then lengthen it so we can see where we are with the chair. Now this would be some Korean warrior chair. It's huge. Yeah, so we'll just drop this down the right.
They give you, Pete, you can tell them how they give you a lot of tools in Second Life, including some simple and some very complex ones. So if you select an object and then you edit it, you can move it in any 3 dimensions, X, Y, and Z. You can rotate it, and then of course just go from there, stretching it.
Exactly, and
that lets you take the components and pretty much build anything you want.
And now you see what I'm doing is I got the legs places I want in reference to the chair, and I grouped them and duplicated them, and so now I'm going to link them, and the seat's obviously too thick, but now you've got a chair. And you can get it down where you want, and I could probably
see if he were continuing, he could put a wood grain or upholstered texture or fabric. There's all these things available that it becomes very, very realistic looking
Well, like
once
what we're
you.
standing on, this is a lava rock that's still somewhat hot, and
Yeah.
as a texture. And so you can, what my first slave taught me was the second thing is you build, well, the first one is build on the grid. The second one is all about textures. And she was absolutely right. It's all about textures. And then in the world here too, which is really neat because when you go to get a place, you want to make sure you can get one that here's a sunrise or sunset. Let me see here. There we go. If you look out over there to our left, well, you don't have to look anywhere. I'm doing it for you, but you can see there's a gorgeous sunset over there. That part of the island is probably the prettiest part of the island to sit in during sunset. And sunrise, of course, be on my side over here. And so anyway, that's you can see the sun's coming up. Let me get down in here. Now we're in the clouds here. Get up here. That's the sunset. And of course, then go back to midnight so we can see what it looks like at nighttime. And I've kind of designed this sim to be um, more about midnight than anything. To my left, for example, is a tiki lamp that I built. Now, that's an authentic Hawaiian tiki lamp that's filled with old fuel oil, what they used to be in the 40s. So they burn clean for a few minutes, and then it clogs up, and you get a bunch of smoke, and then it clears out of that, and that's all scripting. See right there, it's got a lot of smoke going on there to it.
Scripting, tell them, is programming
It's
for
programming.
the motion and how things work.
Exactly, and you stick them on.
Similar to C plus and
Yeah, any OOP stuff.
how things.
Yeah, object-oriented code, OOP. And now we're really getting technical. But there's a whole university in here to learn how to build, where they teach you how to do. Build with Prem. And then there's another scripting university. They teach you how to write basic scripts. You can buy basic scripts for motorboats or whatever you want. And sometimes it's just worth building and grabbing the script and getting done what you want. But it's more of look, touch, and feel for me. And nothing in here, I don't think, looks fake. And I do a lot to try to get it to look natural.
It's a very realistic. Pete's taken me on a couple of tours. I don't know that I've seen everything, every part of it, but there are some amazing sites and some amazing structures, locations. You want to take everybody on a tour, or?
Sure. What would you like to see?
I'll let you decide. I will just do my best to follow you.
All right. Well, I can TP you over as well.
Okay. Yeah, that might be.
Yeah. We won't lose our communication. So
Okay.
We'll go over here. We'll see Atlantis. Everybody thinks of Atlantis. And I'll switch us back to go underwater.
Okay, and I'm waiting for TP.
Yeah, I'm getting over to right where I want to be so we can walk in.
Okay.
Up here a little bit more there. Okay, now. Okay. Conversations.
All right.
And here you call with a TP on a dusty wire. That's how you do a TP to your buddies. There you go.
And there I am.
All right. So to orient.
You got me here in a hurry.
Yeah. So to orient yourself across the way is one of my Hawaiian builds houses, and the blues preacher man's going to live there, or living there now. So let's walk off here with me, and we'll decide what we want to do with the. We're going to walk right off
into the water.
Yeah, hold your breath. And down we go. I think I'll change our world over at midday so they can see this a little bit better. There you go.
Right.
So you can see that now nobody knows what Atlantis looks like, okay? But so matter of fact, you can see the shadow of the bat ray that's over above it. See it, the shadow on the sand in front of you?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's how realistic this stuff is. And there he is. There's a bat ray.
Just look up.
Yeah, I'm showing them. Yeah, there you go. So anyway, we're going to come in here. And Atlantis, of course, have been around, and fishermen were fishing, and their nets got hooked, and they had to cut them off. So I put up some nets here. to make that look more realistic. I'm not done with the whole build yet, but I'm getting close. And so in here is Atlantis had flowing lava, they say. Okay, and the we have Nessie, the octopus, above us here. She guards the dance floor and the entrance to Atlantis itself. And then here's the throne. Great place to come dance in and hang out or whatever. But here,
Nice array of fish. Those of you who are into tropical fish will probably recognize
yes,
them.
they will. Yes, they absolutely will. So, here's a throne, and so you could do a party, you could do a dance down here, any of that stuff. And then, of course, Atlantis. Here's all the equations to build Atlantis. That's the geek in me. So everybody laughs, but that's like a scroll.
The jellyfish, if you can show it.
Yeah. See, we got.
That.
Yeah, the jellyfish are just great, aren't they? And look at your feet. Well, around on the floor, we have free moving crabs.
Ah.
You know?
Yeah, there's the one right in front of me.
Yeah, it's all about the attention to detail. Now, let me take you back out to Atlantis real quick. To Jules Verne. I think we can exit this way faster. I still have stuff to build back here, but we're going to go back out this back way. I think maybe we are. Okay.
Not letting Pete out of my sight, or I'll get lost down here.
I'll TP you.
Whoops. Yeah, you'll have to.
Yep, not a problem.
The rest of you can all see how handy that is. Because I would otherwise be totally lost.
Yeah, you got to get real good. In Gore, you can't TP. Also, in some places you can't fly, so you got to get real good at.
Yeah, there are a lot of no-fly zones.
Yeah. I'm going to TP you just above where we enter, so hopefully you don't fall in the water. But if you do, you're going to fall in. This is Jules Verne. There's a seagull. You could land on him. Yep, good. You fell right on through. Perfect.
Well,
perfect. I was afraid.
That's what we wanted?
Just what we wanted. I'll come down.
Okay. Furniture on the lava.
Oh, yeah. Well, we have this.
Good thing I have insulated shoes.
Well, this structure here is totally insulated. And but this is the 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, like a hotel. But it's all Jules Verne scripted and everything. And so we have also, we have the time machine back here from one of Jules Verne's, novels, The Time Machine. And so we've actually, it's Sassy that went and got all this stuff. I just built the outside. Excuse me, and she decorated. And we'll go up this little angle iron here. And there's two things up here. There's a bar, and which should be on our left here. I'll kind of scoot over this way. We have a bar that you can come and sit and drink. And Second Life, your avatar drinks them, and it doesn't get you drunk or anything, so have as much as you want. And then we'll kind of scoot over this way a little bit. Let me get out of the way. But you can look out the window here and see there are two other box structures out there. And those are sleeping chambers if one wanted to rent one or come hang out. And this is a social meeting area. So, if you have a group of people and you all want to get together, you can sit here and talk and whatever. Now, they'll take you out to the chambers out here. And when they build this stuff, I do a lot of research on what it should look like, period of the year.
Okay, hang on, Pete. I seem to have gotten stuck here.
Okay, I can TP you right here. Hang on.
Not sure why I'm.
Because you can.
Yeah.
I'm on.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
View.
Boom.
Okay.
All right, so we're going.
Once in a while, folks, you'll try to TP somewhere, but you're so close that it won't do that. But in this case, it worked.
So we're going to go down through this tube, and at the end of the tube, we're going to hang a right. Now we're really starting to see the lava coming through, But again, we're completely insulated. The Nautilus had all this fantastic technology. Okay. Now we have two of these things. Are you coming?
I seem to have gotten
stuck again.
Frozen. Yeah, I don't know what my problem is.
That's okay. We have
I,
in Second Life, we have a solution for everything.
yeah.
Don't like it, build it different.
Okay, moving along pretty smoothly now.
Okay, I just sent you a TP.
Oh, I'm in view of you. I don't think I'll need it.
All right, well, remember, that's you got to go down that tube wherever you are.
I'm right behind you.
Okay. Now, let me see right where you are. I'm showing them another tool we have, and that should be Ren, but you're on the opposite side. So,
Oh, is there something between us that I
yes,
don't
there
see?
is. Let me.
Oh,
Let
then
me.
I'll take that teleport.
That's okay. I'm walking back. A
Oh,
bed.
next to a bathtub.
All right. Well, you actually went in. Sorry, you went in the sleeping chamber. I'll
Oh,
I'll come in now too. Yeah. So this is a. It's just which one you're. Yeah, you're in the same one I am, I think. And
yeah, I'm standing next to you. Right. Well,
oh
now I'm
yeah,
behind you.
yeah, behind a
There I
wall.
am.
Yep. Good. Well,
But now look, folks, you can see how, look at the metal, the effect of that iron, polished iron. Um, so building everything like this, like Pete did
yeah.
back in the jewel days.
And I they have these actual Jules Verne underwater hotels all around the world, and one of them had each sleeping pod like this to the next one, so you could see what they were doing. I thought, oh, we can't have that here.
Oh Lord,
Yeah,
no.
we can't have that here. But so the bed's still a bit big, but it's a real cool with a boiler and it's a steampunk.
Yeah.
It's a steampunk look if you know what that is.
Yes.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
a lot of people are, and you can come sit and look out here, or just we can stand and see where the lava's coming from and all of the fish. And um, anyway, that's that. Now let me see. We're gonna do. We're gonna start doing concerts here. So let me TP
Cool.
you over to the ballroom. How about that?
Okay.
Let me get out of
I'll
here.
just stand here till you
Yeah,
get there.
yeah, exactly. I've got one panel to a jar that I can get through, and I can actually walk around and see you. Now I got to worry about standing on the lava here, but you'll see me in just a second. Standing on the lava, what a magic thing. And then of course we have turtles out here, reef sharks, all kinds of different stuff. So let us go over this way a bit, past the bat rays. There's noisy quacking ducks here. My ducks are happy. I don't know what about, but they certainly are happy. All right, you should be seeing a TP. There you go.
Yep. Okay.
So we'll leave this
Back on the beach.
back on the beach. And so we ended up, or Sassy ended up building this ballroom. And then I ended up talking to one of my good friends that plays live music in Second Life. You say, how's that possible? You know? And he streams it in from his studio. But so this is, and we're going to be hosting the Blues Preacher Man. We made a whole stage up here for him. And this is a little bit of the Blues Preacher Man up here going. Tip jars. And so, why we're here talking about this, one of the things, of course, you're probably familiar with elites. We can go sit over here. How about that?
Okay.
Whoops, sorry. I'll sit on this one. You can sit on the one on the other side of me there.
There we go.
Okay, and I'll sit in this one.
Okay, there you go. I see it now that you're sitting in it.
Yeah, sits.
See, sometimes people's computers have different speeds of resing.
Oh,
When we say resing, we're talking about resolving or the resolution of what you're looking at.
yeah.
And so sometimes when you come in after somebody else, you may see less of the sim till everything is fully res. So that's sometimes time just to.
A lot of technology. That's why
Yeah.
I died a lot in Gore. I'm, I draw my sword and go to attack, and I'm dead. Where'd he go? He's around behind me, hacking me up. Wait a second. Anyway, one of the things that we're struggling with here, and I didn't ever expect to be in the music business. Um, we built a ballroom. We thought, well, one time, one of my sims, we had people coming every around 5 o'clock at night, and we do races in the lagoon. We have inner tubes and all different kinds of watercraft. You can play with that and whatnot. And it was always a socially fun thing. And later, it just people went off and did their own thing and this and that, and it's just hard to get a community going. And so this is my ninth attempt to get a community going, but Sassy put down this ballroom that she had. No, we didn't build this. She bought the ballroom. She decorated. I've done almost nothing in here. And so when I started to decide to come back and build Adventures in Second Life, I went around to a lot of the dance places, and there's typically three. It used to be three types. There was a live band literally streaming in from across, all around if there were five band members and they were in different cities, they could still all together
Yeah.
play as a band and stream right into the club. And then there were DJs, there still are DJs, and then there are people that sing, and so that's what they sort of fall into. And but the live people are all gone, just about. And so
Yeah. The singers, there's still a lot of live singers. I haven't
yeah,
seen any live bands,
well,
but I've been to a lot of venues that have a live singer. And some of them are really good. Some of them are like your neighbor.
yeah. Well, so at any rate, I was selfishly wanted to get the Blues Preacher Man to come back into Second Life and play, 3 or 4 sets for me in here,
Hmm.
and I wanted to put that up on Adventures in SL to show what you can get live music. When I said live music, there's live music. How's that possible? And
Yeah.
dancing. Well, how's that possible? So I wanted to go after these common myths that people had. Anyway, he's in now. Period. And so I film him like we're doing right now, his concerts, and then put them up on Adventures of Second Life. And I actually had a media cube going here so we could actually watch them. It's pretty crazy stuff, but
Yeah.
yeah. So, but whoever sees this interview is on the website that we have. Look at the music in the Second Life, and we have singers right now, and I don't think we have a DJ yet. And then we have Blues Preacher Man, and yeah. So the Preacher Man, he and his wife Josie live in the house across the cove here, the lagoon, and
Well, that leads me to another question. I mean, and I guess it's a personal question for everybody, but how do you feel about social life or social life in SL, in Second Life? Because everybody has a little bit different take on it. Some become very, very deeply immersed in it. Some are playing a game. There's any level, and that depends particularly just on the individual and they associate with.
well,
Want to say a little bit about that and
yeah,
how
the
you
positive thing I can say
deal with
about
it?
that is SL, unlike RL, real life, you tend to learn people from the inside out. We make so many judgments based on our how we look. We look at somebody, oh, they're fat, oh, they're too skinny, oh, they're too ugly, oh, they're too this, and you would never even ever get a chance to get to know them unless you started talking to them. So in here, it's very rare that you see an ugly person. Very rare.
That's true.
And some take it to more extremes than others, but and the place you meet them are not unlike real world. You go to a big dance place and ask people to dance, and some will and some won't, and you get
Right.
rejected, and sometimes you don't, and so yeah, it's a little different. But so the and you meet people that way, and In gore, you shoot them and put a collar on them, and that's
Yeah.
it. You're mine. Sorry. It's a little easier, a little straightforward there. But at any rate, and sometimes I almost got married in this place, and thank God I didn't do that. A partner is what they call it. And it's just,
Yeah.
SL's got a real humor to it. It cost 10 linden to get a marriage license and 25 linden to get a divorce.
Kind of like real
I
life,
know it. I
Horatio.
know it. What a sense of humor. And linden, of course, for
Yeah.
those that don't know what linden are, it's our currency that we use here. So you buy
Yeah.
real,
And it's named after
the
the
Linden
Linden
Labs,
Labs, which
who did all
are
this.
second. They host all this on their servers.
Exactly. And so anyway, you find people that are just friends, and then you find people you really care about.
Yeah.
And you find acquaintances, and like we're friends, So, and there's a lot of charlatans out there. The women want you to buy this and buy that, and 2 weeks later they're gone, with whatever they could steal from you. And so there's all kinds. By the way, we have churches here, synagogues here in Second Life. Just about everything. Blues clubs,
Pretty
jazz
much
clubs.
everything is repeated, and people are still people. I mean, there's some people who come in and say, if they're what we say newbies,
Right.
someone who's
New.
new, and they'll come in and maybe they'll bounce around, and then they'll say, well, how do you play this game, or comments like that, and what they don't realize, they either learn or they quit. No, it's very much like real life. I mean, it's how you get to know people, how you present yourself, and it's pretty hard to be fake Second Life, because when you're dealing with people and you're socializing with them,
Mhm.
pretty much become your own self. I mean, there's one thing that says you can be anything you want in Second Life, and
That's
that's
the
true with
outside.
things like gore
Right.
and
Well,
some
that's
of the
the
other things.
outside in the role playing, but the real you is still the
Right.
real you.
But right, and once you become familiar, become friends with somebody, it's I'd say it would be pretty hard to be somebody who you're really not. And it's not only true now. I and you guys who are listening use voice. A lot of people don't use voice and they just type. But even in typing, once you become familiar with somebody and you talk a lot, you can almost hear a tone of voice in the way they're doing their typing
Yep.
chat.
Yeah, that's true.
What they say, how they say it, and you almost kind of internalize it. So whether you're hearing like I are right now, or whether you're just typing to somebody and looking at that window, it's still a very real
Experience.
humanizing
Yeah.
kind of experience.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Um, Although, it gets tiresome for me to type anymore these days. Although
Well, that's true. I never used to use voice, to be honest, and then I finally started, and yes, it's definitely much easier. You can say a lot more in a shorter amount of time. So in that sense,
and it's
yes.
richer because you
Uh-huh.
you don't have to second guess what do they mean by what they just said. There
Right.
could be 4 or 5 meanings for that. Which one is it?
Yeah, so that part does make it easier. But again, at all levels, people they're generally who they are.
Hmm.
If they're being really fake, I think that comes out pretty early.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let me go on from, I guess, from social life. What do you see in terms of adventures? I mean, anything from outlandish to the very realistic and mundane? What's your take on that?
Let's talk about all the various role-playing worlds. Well, we talked about one, Gore. They have
Yeah.
they have a medieval world where there are kings and queens and jousting, and you can be a blacksmith or whatever. You've got to learn their particular vernacular, how they talk, and their mannerisms and whatnot. Then there's mermaid worlds. I mean, complete mermaid worlds. There is Star Wars, Star Trek. My SL sister used to run the Starfleet Academy. No kidding. And they actually go on voyages together and adventures. And they came to my sim one time and teleported in and scanned everything, and everybody was role playing. It's pretty fun to watch them what they do.
Another type I can bring up, because I had a little bit of experience with it, but I didn't stay very long because I felt people took themselves too seriously. But there's one called Bloodlines, where people are various roles as vampires or blood dolls. And I can say from people I knew who were they really get into that. I felt they took themselves way too seriously, but again, there's something for everybody. And
Right.
that's what they
There's a
wanted
World
to
War
do. And
II
then,
sim. There's a Japan in the 15 or 1400s where
yeah.
warring samurai all everywhere. And
Oh,
yeah,
right. There's a lot of those. I enlisted in, I don't remember if it was Army or Marines many years ago, or World War II. But they made us all go through basic training.
well, it's
Kind of got a kick out of that.
yeah,
Yeah, had to go
we're
through.
both prior army, so we've been there, done that, got the
Right. So
T-shirt,
it's like, okay, been there, done that. you
Yeah.
know?
Back to that,
But
the brothel that I owned, by the way.
yeah.
One of the things the Ubers, who are the mayors of other cities, would come to visit. And so I decided, hey, I'm a real world ninja. I'm going to run an assassin clan out of there that no one knows. And I hired this one kid from Boston. Gosh, this guy was fast and famous. And I'd say, okay, what I want you to do, by the way, if you have a slave that runs on you, you can send an assassin to kill her and bring her, or bring her back. It's pretty harsh, as I told you. I said, go over
Yeah.
and kill the Uber of this city. And I don't care how you do it, but you've got to do it legally. And I give him 10,000 linden, which is about $40, USD, to go kill him.
Yeah.
And so then the cities started warring on each other like crazy because they thought one city was actually, murdering these Ubers. So we better take them out. The great city of R. We went end up after that, and it was amazing. And I ran that ninja assassin clan for years, and it became a gossip thing in Gore. Like, who is doing this? And here I was, this
Yeah.
little lonely brothel owner, in a little island, but I would of course I recon each of these places, but I'd get a chance to listen to the gossip and the warriors bitching about this Uber and we would have other castes in there, males of course, and but yeah, so I ran that. But going back to boot camp, it can be more than what you think, for sure.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And then the aerodrome, I don't think they have the aerodrome anymore, do they?
I don't know about that one. There are a lot of Second Life airports.
Right.
The one I used to spend a lot of time in was called Balsavia, and it was a whole bunch of stitched together.
Mm-hmm. Stitched together, yeah.
And but that finally folded. There's still a big one, Hollywood Airport, and there's probably 20, 30 airports. So if you're into flying and aviation, there's some people that build amazingly realistic aircraft models.
Yeah.
And you look at them and you wouldn't believe the level of detail that they put into these, including radial engines with fins on cylinders and whatever else you
a little oil dripping,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's various levels of how well they fly or how realistic they fly. Some basically you point them up or you point them down.
Right. For the novice,
There's some that have, the really realistic physics built into them. And I wouldn't say it's like flying a real aircraft or a simulator, but it is much more demanding than
just putting your pointer somewhere.
than just run just pointing where you want it to go. So and that can be a lot of fun. So there's groups built around those different airports.
There's a sail group too that has a bunch of huge sims.
A lot of people who do get into sailing. And again, I haven't done it myself. All I ever did was motorboating in real life, but sailed like twice. But from people who I've known who do sailing.
Sure.
Yes, they go through the whole thing. I mean,
I lived on my sailboat for 10 years almost, and I sailed almost every day, every night, and so you get to learn. Yeah, but I met some girl, and she goes, "Hey, you want to go sailing?" Sure, it'd be great. Ever been on a boat? Oh yeah, I could say I have, But we got a wet water boat, Hobie Cat of some type, and man, we were ripping along. And then we hit the sim line, and then it went all crazy.
Yeah.
And you finally get through the sim line, and then you're back on the boat again. And that kind of took the experience of it away. And
yeah, that happens in flying. Some aircraft are better built to withstand the sim crossing than others. basically a sim crossing is a handoff
Right.
between one server or a
Portion
program
or a portion of
within
the
that
server, right?
server,
Yeah.
and then you're transferred to another one. And so that can be kind of hair raising. And that's something that is the really good scripters when they design aircraft, that's part of the demands is how well will it handle a sim crossing. And sometimes you slow down if you sim line cut, but you don't always see them. So
Yeah,
it's easy to see them on the ground, but you can't see them in the air.
yeah. You can't see them in the air at all. Then let me see. What are some of the other ones? Well, they have some beautiful builds. And of course, as a builder, I try to go find those builds. They had a Costa Rica sim that was absolutely gorgeous. And the Sands of Time. My God, these guys or girls, just do incredible stuff. And
Yeah.
very magical. So there's,
And it's interesting because, there are people from all over the world in Second Life.
yeah,
And so there are sims you can go to Paris, you can go, I think you mentioned
right, Vienna,
Berlin in the
yeah,
1920s.
Venice, Vienna.
But then almost anywhere, there's even in almost any major city you can name, there's at least a portion of that in Second Life.
Right, right,
And usually with real landmarks.
Oh yeah, it looks real. That's the cool part. I meant they research it and build something that's real, not fake.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's a crazy place to go explore.
Mm-hmm.
If we go back to the marketplace thing, like I was saying, there's still, and I want to go back to the where we're at now, but there's a lot of places that if you buy a dance ball, but you can't see what it really does, So you take your partner or a friend over whatever to the in-world ones where you can try them to see what you want to buy. So there are some things that just don't transition well on the marketplace, and so those things are still there. I haven't been over to Gore in a while, but the marketplaces are still there, but they're themed marketplaces, and the items there are strictly Korean, so that they narrow their market down. And one of the first things,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
one of the first things you learn in Second Life when you get in and you get just normally socializing is they got these really weird people Koreans, and I never talked. They're crazy. Never talk to them. First time I heard that, I go, wow, okay, whatever. And that's what actually started this walking tour concept. Is I would actually walk into other Korean sims and film and show everything. Now we had, I had always edit for nudity and everything else, and I always checked in with a Uber to saying I'd like to put your sim up on Second Life, and everybody was fine with that. And so there's just a lot of places that people would never go, and
never even know about.
Never know about. I mean, everything he had duplicated from that house. The size.
Yeah, the level of detail is amazing.
It is.
If you're willing to put the work. No.
Right, and it's all about textures. Tell you, it's like Tenderly said, it's all about textures. So then, as you keep building, you get more and more unique, and you won't see houses. Well, like when we first started the podcast, that's actually my house. One of the challenges I took was to be able to put a house on an island that you don't know it's a house, and so what you see is a big rock and some lava and some water. That's what you see. But if we go in my house, it's really different, and it's absolutely stunning what you can do.
Yeah, I was at Hyde Park in London, and I'm in Second Life. Well, both, but in Second Life one time, and somebody placed, they had in the sim included the TARDIS. You guys remember Doctor Who?
Yeah.
And so it shared the same characteristics. It was just the size of a big phone booth.
Mm-hmm.
But then you walk into it, and then you were in this enormous, cavernous control center.
Right.
It was only doing Second Life, but it was done very well.
Yeah.
So, your imagination is the only limit.
Parrish built over his sim the solar system. And he said, he TP'd me up there. I was afraid to walk because, here you are kind of standing there with the planets going by and the asteroids going by, and you can see the sun in the middle and the earth. And it's just amazing what this guy would build. Um, so he was a fun guy to have in the world. I was
Uh-huh.
fishing in Second Life one time. A lot of people may not know that you can fish in Second Life. Wherever there's
Yeah.
water, you can fish.
Right.
And they actually have fishing tournaments here. Matter of fact, I was telling you about my SL sister that ran the Starfleet Academy. She met her husband in here. They married, and um,
Re- they married in Second Life or real life husband?
both. First and
Oh,
second,
no
and then
kidding.
in real life, yeah. I had another guy that was he didn't build well, so he hired me to build, but he was alive. He was a great guy, and he ended up getting married and leaving Second Life.
No kidding.
Yeah, no kidding. It's just crazy. I mean, you get all these
Yeah.
different relationships and you know all that stuff, and so anything is possible. Like you said,
Yeah.
anything is possible. And they come up with
No, yeah.
and they come up with body parts
And
that move differently, and yeah,
yes, you can get your own. You can get an avatar. You can get a skin. You can get the appearance. Any way you want. Um, and of course, Pete is a lot more ambitious than I am. I mean, in real life, it's funny. Two things that I did a lot of in real life was building and simulation programming. But when I'm here in Second Life, I'm just chilling and socializing. So
right.
I can admire the efforts and what goes into it, and I understand it, but haven't gone to that level of expertise doing it here. So basically, I admire the works of others, like
Well,
together this.
like I say, I try to
Yeah.
push myself to the limit of my building, and I keep
Uh-huh.
getting different ideas and different this, and it's my creative outlet more than anything.
Sure.
But I do know a lot of people here. Um, they're all good friends. Like I consider you a good friend, like dearest love um, and whatnot. And you don't ask for anything. I don't ask for anything. You know,
Right.
I'm kind of like Trump. Um, I don't want any. What do you want from him? No quid pro quo. That's it. I don't want anything. Just inquire. Do what you said you were going to do. In this case, just come
Okay.
over and enjoy. So,
Yeah.
and we got a couple of comments up on the YouTube that serves our videos over to the website, and people. One woman, you know, had a really nice. Well, both of them did actually, but I sent one a reply. I say, hey, if you want to come over here, I'll put you on the access list and go enjoy. Well, and
Yeah. Very cool.
the rules are don't go in people's houses and look around, but you can do that with your cam anyway. So what's the difference?
Yeah.
Well, one way you know it, the other
There's
way
something
you
I've run into. I guess I don't know if it's a new feature, but I've been in some Sims where they rent houses.
don't.
And what's interesting is if you cam over to a house,
Hmm.
even if you have a friend standing in there, they won't show up on your cam.
Really?
You'll just be looking at an empty house. Yes.
Well, that's actually
So
good. They fixed the privacy
that's
issue.
how they're set up. Yeah, that's how they're set up at
I didn't know that.
in Tangles where Amber has her house, and
Mhm.
there's a whole bunch of houses, a couple dozen houses. But you can't see into another house. You can see the house,
Right.
but you can't see anybody in it.
Well, that's good.
So
Um,
it's something they didn't used to have years ago.
no, as a matter of fact, I learned to cam through the wall,
Right.
find a seat somewhere, and sit in it. Now you're
Sit in it.
inside.
Yeah,
Now you're inside.
right.
And
Yeah.
you know,
My first apartment was a big multi-level. It was a big apartment complex, and I almost felt like I'd be looking around. I felt like I'm a voyeur or something. Like should I really be allowed to look
right,
at all this?
right.
So now they've gotten so they have a way. I don't know how that's done.
Well, that's good.
But it's so it just doesn't res other avatars when you're outside
Well,
when you're outside of that particular house.
I got kicked out of one house just a few weeks ago in filming. I filmed the Tuscany experience, really great build. And they had this one house, and they have rental houses just like you talked about, right? Apartments and stuff, and houses, and a really beautiful build. And but they had a house on a rock in the bay, and a fishing boat circulating around it, and there was no way to get there. So I cammed over and saw
Something to sit on, huh?
a porch furniture, right? TP'd
Yeah.
there, and it says you violated. You're going to get kicked off in 10 seconds. And before I could figure out how to find another one where I came from, boop, I was home. It's like,
Yeah.
boop, You know, you
Well,
used to.
some places will keep you home. Sometimes they'll just throw you into the ocean.
Yeah, no,
The
they just
closest
chuck you
water.
out. Right. That's and
Yeah.
I wasn't trying to do anything malicious by any means, but
No.
in fact, just trying
Now
to.
they do have some rules that they enforce in a number of ways, which is it's a good thing,
Oh, it is a good thing.
So,
You know, like this is a closed sim. Nobody can get here unless I want them.
uh-huh.
You know.
And you can be renting an apartment or a house, for instance, and you can have a security orb.
Right. And
So you put people on the list who you want to, who can come as guests, but otherwise, then somebody that stumbles into it, even accidentally, they'll get tossed out, and it'll tell the person, just like Pete said, you've got 10 seconds, 30 seconds, whatever it happens to be, to get out of here, or you'll be ejected. And ejected can mean down on the street, high rise, or it could be or back home.
Yeah. I've seen some places that will eject you to 4,000 meters above the sim and let you sit up there to try to figure out what you're going to do, you know? So,
Yeah.
so, we also had parachuters in here and parachuting contests. And I used to parachute on not this sim, all my other sims all the time.
Uh-huh.
And
Yeah.
lots of fun.
There are a lot of things. You can find a lot of balloon rides, hot air balloon rides, or helium balloons, and just drift above and watch. Some sims have balloon tours.
Right.
So
right. Luna Bliss. If you've never been over there, you should go over to Luna Bliss. Oh my gosh, it's one of the most long. They've 10 or 15 sims. It's all about plants and waterfalls and skybox. They have whole skyboxes now that'll res with all the plants and trees and everything. And waterfalls, all done. It is res it.
Yeah.
So, but I found one because I was reconning out for the site, and it's a mining town. Okay. So I went to this mining town, and there wasn't really anybody there at the time. There's a pick store, tool store, bag store, this store, and you go through there, and then instead, if you get this, it gives you so much more power. Then you get all these tools, and you go out and you start prospecting and mining, and if you have the right tool, you get little gems, and you go back and exchange that for more tools to get to the real mine. And I go, really? That's a game crossed with a sim, not a role play. It's a role play, but it's based on hunting and being so large, and it got too confusing even for me, so I probably have to go back there to get a good idea before I go film it, but that's certainly high on my list. And then
well, maybe if you can find the owner or manager,
yeah, exactly.
That and they could take you on the tour, like you're taking everybody on this tour.
Yeah, as long
and then except you'd be filming it, but they would be showing you through it.
Oh, absolutely, just like what we're doing right now.
There is just everything, and the other thing is we were saying is your cities all over the world. You meet when you're in Second Life. You meet people from all over.
Yeah.
And they be, I mean, literally all over the world. So you meet somebody and you're talking to them, and particularly if you're typing, it's not with voice. You might pick up on an accent, but otherwise you might be somewhere and then find, the person you're talking to. Well, I'm going to have to get off now because it's 2:00 in the morning for me. Find that you're talking to somebody who's from Australia or China or literally anywhere. So it's that's a interesting part of the experience because you do literally meet people from all over the world.
There's one of the English ones, it's Trafalgar Square, and then pronounce it. You go there. Trafalgar Square. There's got to be 100 people in there. All talking, dancing, roller skating, doing this, and talking with extreme British brogue and other ones not so much so, and the gossiping. So they spend every evening there. That's their gathering point. And then you go to
their social center.
Go to the Red Square in Moscow. Same thing. Here are all these Russians, and they're all speaking Russian, and it's like, okay. So
and I've met people from other places who say they started Second Life in order to practice
language.
Well, mostly English, but it can be any language. I've thought that's what I should be doing. I should be visiting German and Spanish sims so I can brush up and learn.
depending on which language we're
Well,
talking about.
I do have a resident here that speaks Spanish. If you ever want to learn that.
Okay,
Yeah,
well, that's fair enough.
yeah. But
But
anyway, I got one
yeah,
of them. You know, and I speak 5 languages, so
well, very good. Well,
I'm too damn busy.
I speak 2.5.
Yeah,
No, I can speak a passable German, but just beginning in Spanish. So
yeah.
I probably should visit some Spanish speaking sims.
Well, I
There's a good
started.
Mexico
I
sim.
made a commitment to myself because I'm learning Lakota, which is
Oh, Lakota
Sioux.
Sioux.
Yeah, and so I'm moving along, which is difficult. There's not many teaching materials, and then there are some lectures and stuff. But so I
Uh-huh.
want to get Lakota down. And well, my brother, who's in Cuba, he's also Hispanic. So
Hmm.
he and I learned Lakota together. So when he goes back to Cuba,
Oh,
he can
okay.
talk Sioux. And there's only 150,000 people in the world that talk Sioux.
Yeah.
But it is fun, you know. Such a rich
Yeah,
culture.
I would imagine.
Such a rich culture. And living in the West, I'm only 5 miles from one Indian nation here and whatnot. And we have a
Hmm.
bunch of Indians here too. Um, but yeah. Now I haven't toured Africa much. That's a good idea. I should write that down.
Yeah,
And,
I haven't
and I
either.
haven't toured the Baltic much. Mediterranean I did the Black Sea, uh, Istanbul. Of course, I've been to Istanbul, so you kind of sort of know what it looks
Yeah.
like.
Okay.
Kind of sort of. The changes.
Yeah, now I've met Turks here,
Yeah.
and I always wondered too. Now, to what level do some countries tend to want to call it filter or not prohibit Second Life, but what kind
Restrict
of
it. Yeah.
controls do they
You
put
know,
on?
and
Yeah, what kind of
I don't know. I met the only one
because I've met a lot of people from China, and as far as I know, they don't have any. And we know the Great Firewall of China. We know
Right.
there's a lot of restrictions
Right.
internet-wise,
Right.
but I guess they're free to
Gosh,
log in on Second Life.
gosh
So
darn it, I did. It's interesting. I met a girl, a designer. Where the hell did we meet? I don't even remember where we met, but um, it came out very quickly. I'm a builder, and she's kind of likes to build clothes and some other things. And so, but she's from Hong Kong. So I started asking her about the protest. She goes, "Oh yeah, she's out there, and
no
geez,
kidding, yeah,
yeah, I mean, what a small world it can be."
sure.
And
Oh
then,
yeah.
yeah, so it's just anywhere you think you might want to go. Now, sometimes, their search engine is still not very good yet, in my opinion. But you can spend a boatload of time and learn a boatload of stuff and never leave your house. And I just think that's.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's right.
if you stop and think about all the people we know, we would have never met in real life. You know,
Right.
and I used to go to a black church in here, loved it.
Hmm.
And yeah, so I'm in the cultures and the various cultures and stuff like that. But I felt like Forrest Gump, when he went to church there. And
Yeah.
I don't change my avatar for almost anybody. I have an old
Hmm.
avatar actually, a Korean avatar, but I do have new hair. Not my old hair, but it's about the only thing new I have. And I remember when I first got in, I just had my newbie body, and we were going dancing or dance places. One girl comes up to me and says, "Why do you have a new body? I mean, why don't you go get body parts for your avatar?" Well, I
Yeah.
really didn't understand all that she was talking about. But then on the flip side, I said, "Well, I like my avatar." And she goes, "Don't you want people to like you?" If they can't get past the avatar, the answer
Never.
is no.
I know,
You know,
right.
no, thank you,
Yeah.
and hell, no, thank
Yeah.
you. But yeah, but see, there's a person that's all about the glitz and the glitter.
All about appearance. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's all about what she's got to look like, and
Well, one of the things they have in Second Life is profiles. So if you click on somebody, and it'll come up with a profile, and people will put either a lot into it or very little. I'm probably a little lazy, so I don't have a lot on mine.
right,
But they'll put their opinions, and they'll say, well, if you've got a newbie Abby, don't bother talking to me. Or just the opposite, and they'll be very philosophical and very inviting and stuff. And so that you do get a touch of usually what somebody's like, even if they're not a lot of details. So
Well, yeah, and
that's
that
one of the
that
things.
brings up,
Yeah.
are you willing to invest money in Second Life? Most people aren't. They're very inexpensive, very cheap, and
Uh-huh.
and that's as we're looking to have this venue for the Blues Preacher Man. We also are looking to bring in Shamrod Watanabe and Chelsea Noel. Those are singers, right?
Yeah.
And friends of mine too.
Uh-huh.
But with the Preacher Man, we got talking about, my job as a marketing guy is to figure out how to make him $1 million person in here. And if I can,
Hmm.
and of course I can't probably make him a million, but the first millionaire in SL was a property person, and
I'm sure.
oh no, it was female, and
Yeah.
but you can go in all these clubs for free, and so
Hmm.
they may tip the player.
Yeah, the main thing is that it's all tipping. You
All
tip the
tipping.
venue, you'll tip the performer or DJ, and you'll tip the
The
very
hostess.
often there's a host or
Hostess,
hostess,
which is
and you
absolutely
tip them.
worthless. I don't know why they have that, but in my opinion. So I said, well, we're going to do cover charges because this guy's very famous, and
Uh-huh.
or we'll do an annual subscription model, and to get into his special stuff, and the special stuff will be for what he calls them the roadies, and so
Oh,
we're going to
okay.
have concerts for the roadies over here only. And so part of being part of the club is getting, to know the guy and getting him to sing your favorites and or he's written songs for me.
Hmm.
He's written 2 songs actually, at least.
Very cool.
And I went in one. Well, he's on his tour right now, his Christmas tour. And one year I filmed his Christmas tour and made DVDs for him to sell, and sent them down to him. Well, it was across the nation in that time, but yeah. So we go way back, and so but there has to be a different structure to keep these people doing what they're doing. They have to be able to make
Yeah.
some money out of it. And I had another person say, "Oh, I made 500 Linden last month."
Yeah. Well, it's
Uh,
Linden.
that's like $2, $5
Yeah.
somewhere in there, and you're
Yeah.
proud of that.
Right.
How many hours did you do this? And the bar owners are trying to get tipped. The venue owners are trying to get tipped. Nobody really tips them at all to speak of. So there's
Yeah. Well, I try to tip the venues because they're the ones that really have the most invested in it.
right.
Seems like.
Agreed. And I'm a big tipper, so and that's kind of fun too. Once they know you're a big tipper, man, you are their best friend. Hey, I'm playing tonight over here again. Can you make it over there? And I'll sing your favorite song. And
Yeah.
yeah, no, I'm building. Thank you. Um, but once you do that, so I think the model has to change. You know what I mean? Um,
I know what you mean. I'm not sure how it'll happen.
well,
But yeah.
uh, there's a couple of thoughts that I have, and we're going to try a little bit of all of it and see what we think.
I know. I do know that the Lindens. I forget the name of it. You might, Pete. They have an entirely new world that's, I guess, still in beta.
Census or sen.
Yeah, something like that. Yes. Now I don't know if their economic model is going to be any different than this or not.
Well,
But,
they're already going
uh,
into layoffs with that, so
oh, really?
yeah,
Well, and I guess
you
it's
can
not
read the
doing
tea
too well.
leaves
Well, I think a lot of people were kind of turned off by the fact that you couldn't take your own inventory.
with you.
In inventory, that just means everything you own, all your clothes, a
Oh,
house, gestures, anything that you use in Second Life, whether you wear it or
right.
live on it or
I'm
whatever.
showing my folder right now with
Oh, okay.
45,920
Right.
items, right?
And I okay,
But
so
yeah, it's
I think that's probably one of the things that people are balking at the new that new version is because they cannot transfer what they have here in Second Life to this newer version. So
yeah, and I don't know if they're all building in mesh over there. I still build pixels. I'm old school, but it'll take me a while to go get into
oh,
mesh.
Prims, yeah.
Yeah, Prims.
Yeah, mesh is the big thing, but and almost all the clothes now are mesh.
Yep.
Um, it can be problematical.
It is for
But
me. I can't wear mesh clothing.
oh,
So
we that's funny. You should be. I have what I call a classic Avi.
mhm.
My avatar is not mesh, but what I'm wearing now is.
Oh, okay.
So you probably be able to do that. Not the other way around, probably.
If you have a mesh
But you
body,
wouldn't
you
want to do
can't
the
wear
other way.
pixel clothes, I guess.
Right,
Yeah,
right, yeah,
yeah,
or prim clothes, right?
yeah. But
But the other way around seems to work.
and you
So
know what? If you don't like the way I look, the hell with you. I'm all good with that.
exactly.
I'm
There
good
you
with that.
go.
I wear these clothes I wear almost everywhere because I'm building. And
Yeah.
the shirt, we made the shirt and Builders Gone Wild and whatnot. And this is a Hawaiian island, so I have a tan, and I wear my flip-flops and my glasses.
I was gonna say, yeah, you have a good tan.
I do have a good tan.
Hey.
But if you're going to be from a Hawaiian island, you're damn well going to have a good tan. So
That's probably true.
absolutely. Yeah. And my pink lei, and only real men can wear a pink lei, let me tell you. I've never given you a lei yet.
Yeah, that's fine.
That's
we'll
fine.
keep it that way.
I don't know. You may find it in your inventory one day. Who knows? But
Yeah.
Anyway, so it's let me see. Let's go outside for just a second, and then we'll end up closing this off. But
Okay.
I just have one good story to show out here.
Okay.
And
Where are we going?
Walking out the big doors. Some of the hard stuff to learn at the time was what they call sculpties.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we can go right over here.
Yep. Okay. Oh, there I am.
And
Yeah. Then there were prims. There were flexi prims.
yep. And then there's sculpties,
which I think are even better than mesh. People who have long hair, the flexi hair actually moves. Like if you shake your head,
right.
the hair moves, or it blows in the wind, or it just kind of has that.
All right. You see the palm tree that's in front of us?
No, I don't know what my problem is. It has not res.
Okay. Well, it's
As long as you can see it and you're taping and the viewers can see it, that's
right.
what counts.
I just ran into it. Ouch! I just bonked my head. Well, this is a program that I got to build the trunks, right? So I built the sculpty,
Okay.
and then I went out in my front yard and took the texture off my palm trees, right, and put it on the trunk. And then I went on the web and found a palm tree, the branches, and I had to, take out the background. So it was really laborious. Well, I got a message in Second Life that one of the people that came to visit the sim once, this is the earlier one, she's Hawaiian. She's from Oahu, I think it was. And she goes, I can't believe you have my tree, the tree that's in my front yard, in Second Life. And she took a picture of the tree that she had in her front yard and sent it to me. And sure as heck, I nailed it, And so it's one of those things that, you really strive to make it look real. And
Sure.
This is one of those cases where it looks pretty darn real. So, well, it's all right. Let me get out of these bushes. These bushes have fireflies in them. So we can get over here. We'll sign out.
Well, better fireflies than just flies.
Oh, absolutely. I got plenty of those outside during the summer anyway. Well, all right, Ren. Thank you so much for the interview.
Okay.
And
all right. Well, I think this was fun, and I'll hope to take a look at it myself on your YouTube.
All right, sounds good, Ren.
Take care.
I'm going to stop.
All righty.
I'm going to stop videotaping right now.